Hello, and a warm welcome to the Align with Aline podcast. I am delighted and honored to be with the wonderful Patricia Tabares today. Now, Patricia has 25 years experience training, teaching, inspiring in astrology, in runes, in flower therapy. She also works with hands-on healing for 20 years. And she has a very beautiful school called Avalon Escuela para el Alma. And that in English means the Avalon School for the Soul. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Patricia. A warm welcome.
Thank you, Aline. I'm so delighted to have a chance to be part of your podcasts that we were all looking forward to. So I'm really very grateful that you thought of me for these first.
I'm really, you made me cry. I'm really grateful that you're here.
Well, so, that's part of your charm, your sensitivity.
So for those of you who are those of the listeners who don't know you, would you tell us a little bit about how you found your passion, 25 years ago now, for astrology and the healing arts and divination, and how you found out your beautiful gifts?
Okay, let's start from the very beginning then.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, just let me let people know that I am in Argentina, that I was born in Argentina. So if there's anything with my English that doesn't sound too clear, it's because it's not my mother tongue, but I'll do my best.
Your English is perfect.
Thank you. Well, I always say the same thing when I'm asked about my beginnings, and I have to thank my children for being my masters, my teachers, because it was thanks to my son, Tomás, and my daughter, Rocio, now over 30-something, who were actually interested in all these languages, astrology and runes. Actually, they were the ones that started off this path by being kind of intrigued. Yeah. And so it was because they wanted to study and they were interested in these disciplines. I sort of guided them along where to study, how to get started. And it was funny and very interesting because they just started for a very short while and then they handed over
they me guided you there and then passed you the torch.
Exactly. That's the word. Yes, exactly. So it is with their kind of view that I realized that there was something else that was part of one's own evolution and development. So that's how I got started. So I studied astrology because my son, as I said, wanted to study astrology. So he said, I'm interested. We started looking for places and reading books. And then all of a sudden I said, this is what I really am interested in. With my daughter, it was a little bit more painful because it was due to an accident she had. She lost part of the side of her right eye. And this is directly connected with the myths connected with Odin and the runes. And it was because of her own search for understanding and answers that we together got into the world of runes. And then she again accompanied me for one or two lessons, and then she gave up on it. And I was absolutely captivated and thrilled with this world. So that's how I started.
Wow, so that's incredible. Your daughter had an accident with her eye that led you to the runes. My goodness.
Yes.
There's a book there somewhere.
And she was so wise to understand that there was a what for in that episode.
That's incredible. Excuse me interrupting, but how old were your children when they discovered?
So young. I mean, my son was only 17 and my daughter was 15.
Wow.
And then is when I became really interested because,
Amazing.
and I always say they still are my teachers, my masters. It is through them that I start looking for more and more answers. So that's how I got started with all this.
That's gorgeous. And now you've got a beautiful online school as well as in person. So you teach astrology and you teach runes and you teach flower therapy. Can that all be taught remotely, or does that have to be in person, or how does that work?
Well, actually, that's also part of my beginnings because I am a teacher, actually. So teaching has always been in my life. I started off as a teacher of English, and that's why I learned
Your English is perfect, yeah.
And so teaching is my passion to begin with, and communicating my knowledge to others is a mission. And so it's whatever I learn, whatever I get in touch with that helps me understand better and more my own processes, I then need to pass it on. So school started as some sort of natural urge to share with others what I was kind of enlightened by. So my school started as a building, and it was all in person in the beginning. But then the pandemic came, and we all started with this possibility of studying online. And to be honest, I must say that most of the courses and workshops, they are online now. There are some activities I do in person, but most of the lessons and sessions in general, they are online with the possibility of being in person, I mean, during the class, or getting the videos, the recordings to continue revising and reviewing. Yeah.
Excellent. So anybody globally can study with you.
Absolutely. And
Fantastic.
it does happen. It's so interesting because it's funny in a way, because here, for example, there's a couple of groups I have at 6 p.m. in Argentina. So while we are in the middle of, late evening, there are students in Australia having breakfast and taking the lesson at the same time. So that is what, online activities help us do. And the world has become globalized.
Yeah, well, thank you to the pandemic, and thank you to Zoom.
Yeah.
Not that I'm on commission for Zoom, by the way.
I know. Same with me. And this possibility of being with you now and having these.
Because my next point is that you also give one-on-one personal readings as well. So for anybody around the world who needs any guidance, they can get in touch with you and you will read their personal chart. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you've helped so many?
Okay, sure. Well, actually, I do astrological readings. As you said, that is the basis of my work, because even for other disciplines like floral therapy, as you said, rune reading, biodecoding, and healing, I start off with a chart, because the natal chart is a perfect X-ray of the person's personality, health, and mind and emotions. So by starting with a chart, I get a very clear and comprehensive view of the person. So, and as regards astrological readings, there's the possibility of having this first very thorough reading of your map, your personal map. But then there's the chance of continuing the work, the therapeutical approach, which is what I'm interested in. When I do the reading, it's not so much about predictions and kind of thinking of what will happen to you and thinking that fate cannot be changed. It's on the contrary, it's understanding the messages of the sky, of the gods in the sky, and understanding that they are guiding us to try and get the best results for our own lives, right? So what I do is, with this first reading, understand who you are, see your shadows, which are part of your repeated destiny, right? When we do not see clearly, or we do not cast light into our unconscious, then things start happening. So it's important to understand, why does this repeatedly happen to me? And that's because there's something in the energy field of my map that I'm not being conscious of, or I'm not really kind of understanding. So the more clear you are about these energetic components of your chart, the best you can decide what to do and what to really understand about yourself. So the first reading is fundamental. And from that reading, I can also help the client become conscious about health issues. So there's also an approach that I'm very interested in around health issues. And I combine this first reading with other therapeutical tools, right? Like floral therapy, healing, biodecoding. But the beginning, the starting point is
all in the stars.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the chance of accompanying the client, as I suggested before, with kind of regular sessions, or the yearly session for either your solar return, or there are many people who now choose to have these kind of astrological coaching sessions, so that you can guide the person, make decisions at the right time, the right place, because, as I said, the sky is always giving us directions, right? And it's important to tune into that so that you can make the best decisions, Aline.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, so for example, if somebody's going to be launching something, or there's something very new happening as a chapter in their life, then a wonderful way is to speak to you, and you can give guidance and help them prepare for what's going to be that best time. And as you said already, with health issues as well. Yeah, wonderful.
Absolutely. That there are days, for example, you have to go through surgery. There are certain days you have to avoid, and certain days which are ideal for these procedures. And as you said, the same, you want to launch a project, and there are kind of windows during the certain months that are the best for taking that sort of action, or when to wait, and when to take your time, and probably work within yourself rather than acting out. So that's the idea.
So I would just like to say, I 1,000% recommend Patricia. And I will put all the information underneath the podcast, so you can get in touch with Patricia and organize how you would wish to learn, train, and be guided by her. Okay, so what I'd really like to talk about, actually, biodecoding, first of all, if that's okay. And then I'd really love to talk about any advice that you have for this year. But first of all, could you please tell us a little bit about what is biodecoding?
Well, that's a very interesting approach. Actually, it's a pioneering technique. It's quite new. And it helps resolve some underlying bio-emotional or ancestral components that sometimes affect our health, mental, emotional, and physical. There's always a why a person develops a certain symptom or illness, or these repetitions of I cannot make money with my work, or there is this repeated succession of painful relationships that the person feels is always getting into the same vicious circle, always choosing the same person, or the same kind of people, and then having kind of to suffer through it all. So when the mind cannot really understand what is going on, and traditional medicine or traditional psychological procedures do not help you get the answers. Here is where this complementary therapy comes in. And as I always say, all the therapies I work with, floral healing, biodecoding, they are complementary therapies to any other procedure that is required, right? If a person comes down with a serious illness, important that you follow your doctor's instructions, but we can help a lot put light into things that is like they are beyond your consciousness or your control. So many times, say, let's take an example with abundance or lack of resources, a person that keeps kind of losing money or not being able to have a healthy relationship with money. If we go back into the family tree, into the ancestral information, there definitely will be many stories of wrong dealing with money or bankruptcies or frauds or criminal activities. So there's always there that leaves
problem.
That leaves some memory in your cells. So the idea is to go back into those kind of incidents or stories and heal them and release them, right? And purge.
So it's almost like there's an imprint from ancestors that we don't physically know about or have experienced in this life, but it's gone down, if you like, the bloodline and the spiritual line, and it's there in the ether, if you like. Wow, that's incredible.
That's amazing. Amazing. For people that feel that there's no passion in their lives, that they feel like almost like dead in life, they are repeating the history or the story of our ancestor who died young. So you are kind of loyal to that death. And then you don't feel there's blood running in your veins, and you don't feel that you are part of that life, right? Because you are kind of being loyal. That's the way we put it, to that early death.
Loyal to the repetition of the pattern. That's incredible.
Exactly.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So it's really interesting. I'd love to talk more about that, but we can talk about that another time. On another podcast. But what I'd really love to speak to you about and help our listeners with is your wisdom of how do we navigate this year. I mean, we're currently in a space where the planets are, there's no planets are in retrograde, which is wonderful. Until I believe the 21st of April. And then we have different things happening. So could you give us obviously this isn't going to be a personal reading, but it's going to be a general collective reading of what to look out for, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, to begin with, I would like to shed some light into this question of retrograde planets, because to understand that even though we try to avoid this influence, there's also a positive side to it. So let me start with, first of all, I will answer your question. Yes, we were under the influence of 6 or 7 planets. There was a moment, 2022, that there were like 8 planets retrograde. And so it was hard to be able to act. I don't know how to put it. I'm thinking in Spanish and translating into English. It's like there was more of an inner process going on, like a revision, a reviewing, reconsideration, and sort of many doubts. It's like we wanted to start acting on things or doing things and putting things into action, and we were driven into the mind and, this kind of inner voice, blah, blah, blah. That was because when planets are retrograde, whatever planet it is, they ask of us that we kind of take our time to go back on our steps.
Okay.
And be it the way you have structured or built something, that would be Saturn, for example. Saturn sort of guides us into finding a structure, building, becoming responsible for something, taking our time, becoming more mature, right? Working hard. That is Saturn. When Saturn is returned, you have to do all this inside yourself. Take your time, think about how responsible you've been, how committed you want to be, if what you want to build around or on is what you are supposed to be doing now, or you have to wait. So it's not that there's anything wrong with it. The thing is that we feel that we are like behind bars, waiting for the right time to open the gates and start doing things. So calling Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Mars, all planets go retrograde during the year, except for the sun and the moon. They never go retrograde. The luminaries, they don't. We're not going to go too deeply into that because it would be more confusing than anything else. But while planets were retrograde, there were so many, we probably felt, especially from mid-2022 up until around November, December, when planets started indirect, probably we felt that we were kind of stuck or kind of I don't know, stopped and not allowed to start really doing things, right? Or exactly. Yeah, that's it. So now, as you very well said, that planets, all of them are in direct motion. Well, this is the time to start doing things and kind of showing what you've been, because actually the previous period was not supposed to be a passive period. It was supposed to be a period of introspection, revision, reviewing, and making a strategy, a plan. Now the plan has to come out, and we have to start showing the world what we were so much thinking about or reviewing or planning. So this is a great time, guys, for launching things and making your trade known to others and starting that plan or project that you very much wanted to start at one point or another. Now is the time. And of course, planets will start going retrograde. But again, they're not going to be retrograde all at the same time. I even actually wrote down that it's a long list. So there's no point in actually having that information now. But when you learn or read that a planet is retrograde, do what I suggested. Whatever function that planet plays, do it as a kind of introspection period and make the most of it, because that is what retrograde planets do. And when they go direct, they say, okay, now you should do something with this, right?
Yeah.
So that is what this means.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that, because there is this real stigma, isn't there? Oh no, it's in retrograde. So basically what we do is we go inwards and we go introspective and we feel what really works for us. So how would you suggest we do that? Would that be through journaling? Would that be through meditation? Is there anything specific? Would that be working with you with runes, for example? What would you suggest? How would that be? So for example, you mentioned Saturn. How would we go inside and work with the energy of Saturn? How would we work with the energy of Mercury? How would we work? Is there with the other planets as well? If you could please.
Sure. Well, all the tools you mentioned, or the means, are perfect ways of working with these retrograde periods. And whatever way you feel resonates with you, because as you said, turning to magic, also working with planetary magic, which I do and I love. And it's like invoking and connecting deeply with the energy of each one of these planets, and doing our rituals and connecting deeply and inwardly with the messages of these gods, actually, which is actually what they are, right?
Yes.
And so yes, through meditation, visualizations, I've listened to you many times connect with the energy of the moon or other planets, and listening to your inner voice, which is actually the messages that come through to us, but when we connect and when we actually have this intention of connecting with these messages.
Yes,
definitely.
yeah.
Yes.
And there's also there's the planetary hours, aren't there, as well? So could you speak to us a little bit about the planetary hours, please?
Sure. Actually, planets, they are, again, energy. They are vibration, right? So I always think of, when I read a natal chart, I always say what I'm looking at is the sky of the day you were born, and there's a melody in that sky. We could even play the music of that day when you were born. Because actually, as I was saying, planets have their own vibrations, so they are related to musical notes, to colors, to hours, days of the week. So there's a whole kind of bibliography around this, and it would be, again, too kind of too much to talk about precisely each one of these things. Yes. But in answer to your question, yes, one way of connecting with the energy of the planet is to work on a certain day of the week. For example, Monday, moon, Saturday, Saturn, right?
Yeah.
So there's a direct connection and colors corresponding to these. And again, yes, each planet will have its own hours of the peak moment of the connection with the energy of the planet, and also the timing when these planets go into a different vibration, so that you can relate to it in a different way. So times to meditate and times to really act on the energy of the planets. Wonderful. So yes. And there's also, yeah, sure.
No, sorry, I'm just asking, is that something you teach about the planetary rituals?
Yeah, I do.
Wonderful.
Every now and again, I have these sessions, what I call alchemy, alquimia mágica in Spanish. So
alquimia mágica, sí, claro.
Yeah.
So that's alchemical magic.
Alchemical magic. That is it. Yeah. So there, I work with different kind of sigils, and sometimes with planets, sometimes with other sigils or spiritual entities. But the idea is to really, again, resort to these means to work with this information at a different level. And yeah,
because I've heard as well, so for those of us who aren't in alchemical magic, one of the ways, and perhaps just beginning, and obviously people can train with you, but if they're just beginning to work with the planets, and oftentimes we think, oh, it has to be on a Monday or it has to be on a Tuesday to work with Mars, then actually we can look at the planetary hours, can't we? And if it's a Wednesday, but we really like to do a ritual, a Mars ritual, we can work within the hour for Mars that day as well. So
exactly.
Yeah.
That is definitely it. And choosing the right color, the right timing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're getting quite deep. So I just like to take it back a notch and just talk about I would love to talk for hours and hours about this. But what I'd really like to talk about is, so we've spoken about the time is, it's a great time now until the 21st of April, to really get our voices out there, get our passions heard, get our gifts heard. And we've been talking about how this is a spiritual year. It's the 7 year, so it's lots of unraveling. It's the water rabbit year. So is there anywhere specific in this year where you would advise for people, in general, to have, to keep an eye out for that, for times that are obvious to go inside and listen, and times that are obvious to really be out there? Is there any advice you have there, please?
Okay, sure. Well, first I would like, because you asked me and then we started off talking about other things.
I know, that's me all over.
No, but I love that. I actually love
that's
that.
My Mercury.
Yeah, and my Pisces ascending as well. So. But I would like to give you people an overview of the year, especially considering what we have been going through for the last 3 years or so. Times of great changes, just to use a nicer word.
Yes.
I mean, before and after. And 2023 is a transitional year. Probably, even though there will be very impactful events and things happening in the world as they actually are, and in terms of especially natural disasters and weather conditions that will be hard to cope with, and nature kind of expressing its anger for how we human beings have been misusing natural resources in general. So that will continue, because that is part of what was triggered by the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, during the pandemic, and all we learned, hopefully, about what was being said to us human beings. But this 2023, even though there will be some kind of very kind of unexpected and difficult times with, as I said, especially natural events, it's a transitional years for human beings, because there are many planets that are changing cycle, and they are kind of changing their vibrational force. And especially with Saturn ingressing Pisces, this is starting now in March, beginning of March. Pluto in March also, which will change from Capricorn to Aquarius. Jupiter will go from Aries to Taurus. So all these slow planets are kind of finishing a cycle, a very long cycle, and starting a new process. So let me talk a little bit about that. Because, for example, the last time Saturn was in Pisces was around 29 years ago. So what does Saturn in Pisces will bring to us? To begin with, a sort of uncomfortable tension between Saturn is structure, order, reality, whatever is pragmatic and consistent, that is Saturn. And Pisces, quite the contrary. Pisces is resonance, connection, vibration, anything that has no shape or form, everything that has to do with love and compassion and empathy. But it's like floating on the seas, on the oceans, with no limits or no borders. And Saturn is order, limit, structure, clarity, reality. Put your feet on the ground and make sure you are connected with this. So there will be Saturn will be in Pisces for 2.5 years. So There's something, I didn't raise my hand. Something happened.
I love when it arrived, because it's just it's signifying how important it is. I was trying to be subtly very,
speaking.
Yeah, and that was really, yes, it is. Yes, that's Saturn speaking. No,
I haven't touched anything.
I didn't touch anything either.
Magical. Well, we do believe in these things. So
Absolutely.
let's listen to Saturn's. Yes. Attention. There's a, again, it appeared on my screen. How amazing.
No, yeah, incredible. It's I don't see the hand now, but is it on your screen now?
It started like showing up and then it disappeared. So I have understood clearly this Lord of the Time, Saturn, the big master, saying, stop and think. I'm going to take this hand and use it as part of this narrative, and think that there's now a new structure that is being kind of that is being invited to, so that we recognize, which is how to structure the world of spirituality, of intuition, of resonance, that is everything connected with our world, magic, spirituality, resonance, energy, alchemical work will become, magic will become more serious, and it'll be part of a frame that we as human beings will need in order to turn to something that will help us kind of navigate these new waters of changes that started a while ago. But this year, as I said, is a transitional year, but a year of very, very big changes, with Saturn in Pisces, in part, the deconstruction of the ego, the deconstruction of everything that had to do with very rigid and solid frames that made us think of reality in a certain way, and I mean, imposing especially hierarchical figures, dominating over minorities. This is losing its force, its strength. And what will start becoming stronger is the collective unconscious and everything that is related to these languages, these tools that have to do with precisely what we are talking about. That is all complementary therapies, everything connected with the unconscious will become serious stuff and will be acknowledged. So it will not be surprising to hear some authorities recognizing the importance of all these disciplines that we have mentioned and many more. It would not be surprising that floral therapies or family constellations become part of some formal kind of institutions or ways of dealing with different conditions, right? So
because we're moving I was just going to say, because we're moving towards the divine feminine, so it's the gentle changing and all about balance, so away from patriarchy towards matriarchy, but still having, it's not all about one or all about the other, but it's, and as you've mentioned, you know, we're coming into Pisces, Aquarius, and it's all that very gentle energy. So
actually, I like what I love what you're just saying, because Saturn is the archetype of the patriarch, but in Pisces, this is the energy of the goddess. So it's like the merging of this goddess energy into one. And we're going to start connecting with this more firmly, more clearly. Obviously, there's always like the dark side to it, which is many people will start kind of feeling that they are more confused than ever, that they find it hard to put solid ground to their dreams or their and especially for those who resist.
Yes, I had resistance. That was my
That's right. So the idea is not to resist and not to kind of fight against this sensitivity, this empathy, this compassion that will become kind of fundamental because we are moving into the Aquarius age. Actually, there's a whole discussion. Are we already in the Aquarius age or not? Well, technically, there's still a couple of hundred of years more to define the Aquarius age, but we are already in the midst of the Aquarius energy, and that is the collective. That is realizing and coming to terms with the idea that we are not isolated beings, that we are not isolated egos, that we are part of a collective, and that what was in the past, this kind of
separation.
Separation, absolutely, is now kind of moving into a very different dynamics. Like we are all one, but it's important to think in terms of complementary opposites, because the opposite, the complementary opposite of Aquarius is Leo. So it's not a question of kind of forgetting the Leo energy, the I am who I am, and I want to shine, and I want to show who I am, what I know, what I want to share with you with passion and enthusiasm, but inside or together with others.
Yes, you mentioned complementing.
Complementation, right? So that's it. That is what exactly Aquarius is asking of us. Don't forget who you are and the talent that you have and your own shine, because we need this individuality to be part of the big collective, right?
Wonderful.
So it's both energies coming into action. And well, I take advantage of this to say that Pluto, that was in Capricorn since 2008 up until March 2023, so many years, Pluto in Capricorn, is now stepping into Aquarius, but only for 3 months, and then will go back to Capricorn up until the end of this year to start the new cycle and big one in 2024, when Pluto will be in Aquarius for 20-something years, 24 years, I think. And what does this mean? Pluto is the planet of power, dominance, transformation, and empowerment. So power is moving hands, changing hands, and the power will be now through Aquarius in the collective, in this kind of wholeness that we are as human beings. But it will start off with a number of rebellions and revolutions, drastic changes, and the unexpected, right? Because in order for things to change thoroughly, to begin with, it takes a long time. It's not an overnight process. That's why we need slow planets to show us what the changes are. But Pluto, when it comes into the scene, it comes as a sort of superhero, and in a very kind of radical way and without any compassion, brings in the changes that are necessary. And Pluto says, I come to destroy whatever is no longer necessary. I come to put an end to whatever has completed a process, but it is a process of death and rebirth. So many things are dying in order to be born or to start in a very different way. But this change will be kind of dramatic.
Yes.
Somehow or other.
So do you feel we're in very much a moment of remembering who we are? It's not a case of you have to completely change everything about yourself. Would you say it's unraveling and just remembering who you are?
Yeah, exactly. But again, the word resistance.
Yes.
The idea is not to resist these deaths.
Yeah.
Because Pluto brings the most creative energy you can imagine.
Oh, beautiful.
We are born as human beings because of Pluto when during the encounter between two beings, the orgasmic moment is Plutonian. Wow. And it's because of this orgasmic and strong and imposing energy starts, new life is created.
Sex magic.
Absolutely. I was listening to Foster and Krista's podcast, and that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Amazing.
So, yeah. So these events that we are now witnessing, for example, this earthquake in Turkey, and for example, and floods and natural disasters.
Sure.
Well, they are actually part of this Uranus in Taurus that entered, Uranus entered Taurus in 2019 and will continue for 7 years. As I said, the planet Earth is also rebelling against or starting a revolution so that we become more conscious of we as inhabitants of this planet. We have to reinvent ourselves and recreate ourselves, but respecting and honoring Mother Earth, right?
Yes,
so
there's a huge movement in veganism, which is wonderful, and for me it felt surprising, but it makes so much sense because you've just explained it so beautifully about respect and consciousness for the planet. It's within us, isn't it? It's the change for respect. Yeah.
Sure. And I mentioned Uranus because Pluto and Uranus will be communicating with each other in a very magical and beautiful way, because the planets, they communicate with each other. They start a dialogue between them with through different energies. Some are more tense and difficult, and some are more fluid and more gentle. And Uranus and Pluto will form a beautiful trine, and a trine is always an energy of creativity, passion. It's like things become kind of easier and they have a purpose. So all that Uranus is asking of us to change and liberate and free and reinvent, Pluto, with its dominant transformative energy, will make true, will sort of allow Uranus to really be able to transform. But as I said, Pluto, an earthquake is Pluto.
So we have to allow the clearing of the space to welcome in the beautiful new gifts.
Exactly. Yeah, because Pluto purges, cleanses, but doesn't ask for permission.
No.
If you resist letting go of something, a relationship, a job, a place, whatever, when Pluto says, I think it's been enough, it will not knock on your door and ask permission to remove it. It will come and remove it and take it away. With time, we look back and say, aha, thank you.
Yes. As you know, well, I have experienced that.
I know.
So
and we all have.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I was going to ask you about as well, because we can get into almost like, I'm not saying PTSD, but it can get a little bit fear-based, because if we've got these huge dramatic changes, and as you've so beautifully explained that Pluto is gently getting us there, but is getting us there. For people who may be slightly concerned about this, because there is a lot going on in the world, you know, with the earthquakes and the changes, global warming, and you've mentioned all the weather elements. There's going to be more this year. So how would you recommend for, and of course, personal changes, because as you've so beautifully explained as well, if people are resisting, then Pluto's going to come along and wipe away what doesn't work in our lives anymore. So how would you suggest for people to, I mean, obviously they can listen to you and your beautiful podcast really on Instagram and on Facebook. You know, when you come on and give advice, they can also train and work with you and have personal development. But just in general, what would you suggest that we do to feel calm in these tumultuous times, if you like?
Okay, that's a nice question. And of course, always, I think you also suggested this, to give clearer guidance, we need to look at the personal map, right? Each one of us, our natal chart is what will give us the clearest idea of what is going on with me, because that natal chart, which is your personal energetic field, will not change, but will be affected all the time by the influence of the sky over your chart. And those are the messages I keep talking about, like, what is Pluto asking of me? Because even though this is a very general description, there are certain signs that will feel it more directly, right? Especially fixed signs. And I don't want to scare anyone, but just like know that certain signs are more pushed into making changes, and fixed signs are Taurus. I'm a Taurus. Leo, you're a Leo.
Yes.
So praise ourselves.
Yeah.
Scorpio and Aquarius. These are I mean, we all are, because even if it's not your solar energy, there is a Taurus energy in your chart somewhere, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. But if your ascendant is in any of these, or your lunar energy, the moon, or the sun, the solar energy, these are the signs that are more pushed into accepting and kind of go with this flow of no resistance, big changes, reinvent yourself. And in order to reinvent yourself, you need courage to let go, to free yourself and liberate whatever has been a burden on your shoulders. So many times we don't realize that we've been carrying or shouldering something, and you realize how heavy it was when it disappears. So the idea is for especially these signs, to think very deeply. I mean, what is it I've been carrying along that I no longer want? And there's a lot of liberating energy in this process. There's nothing bad or wrong. On the contrary, the thing is, if someone invites me to jump off the roof, I would not want to do it unless I have some special device, right?
Yes, parachute.
The parachute is the guidance. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So how can I best kind of organize myself to go in the direction of those changes? But back to your question, in how to prepare ourselves, even though these are the signs that are more affected, I think it's for all of us to understand that the sky is changing its narrative, and that we, as part of that narrative, we have to change also the approach to our life. So by changing perspectives and changing your narrative will help you bring about those changes, right?
Yeah.
So, and with Saturn in Pisces, resort to all kind of complementary alternative tools, because that is the material that will help us best brace ourselves for these movements, for these changes.
And would you suggest more time alone as well? For example, when it's just happened a moment ago, actually, when I'm on podcasts or I'm speaking with something that I really feel, I've been told that needs to be shared, noise starts happening around me. And sometimes it doesn't, oftentimes it does. And it's really interesting because it's like a reminder there are distractions, but keep in your path, keep with that process.
Exactly.
Is there anything you'd like to say on that at all?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Like this kind of balance between this moving into our inner selves, this retreat. This is with Saturn in Pisces, like trying to find this kind of balance or this kind of center that we need to regain again, because there will be many things happening, many unexpected occurrences. So we need to go back into ourselves and our essence, and meditation, music, silence, connection with nature. Obviously, those are beautiful ways of getting back into our inner selves. But also, there's this push into interacting also with our communities, with our tribes.
Yes.
I mean, the great challenge is finding our tribes where we belong, right? Where we speak the same language, where we share the same interests. And that is Pluto in Aquarius too. The power, the force of the collective. But the collective, also your personal collective, right? Who do you feel you resonate with, or you can talk about the things that worry you? So we are going to become a little more selective with the people we interact with, right? But it's part of the process. And there's something I would like to add, even though you didn't ask me, but which is very important. This started last year, but this year, very important, the way we take care of our bodies.
Yes, this was my next question.
Well, without speaking, we know what's going on. And I will say it in Spanish, and you will help me find the word. El reseteo intestinal.
The digestive intestinal system, the digestive system. Yeah.
Resetear, to reset, you say in English?
Yeah, to reset, yeah.
So,
perdón, ¿puedes repetir, por favor? Porque había un poco de ruido.
Okay. What is very important that we all understand that this is the time to become more conscious of our own health through, in Spanish we say, reseteo intestinal.
Yes, that's right. Resetting the digestive system. Yeah.
The digestive system.
Absolutely.
So,
because that's the solar plexus, isn't it? Strength and power and our own power. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, that is beautifully explained. So I mentioned the force that Pluto has to purge, to remove. This is very important in also our body. So changing our diet and thinking more wisely what is really healthy for our system, because as you said, this is our fuel, this is our vital energy. And this started last year and it will continue this year, the importance of a more natural diet, vegetables, fruit, less flour, less dairy products. I mean,
yeah.
The body will really be very grateful if you start paying attention to this.
Sure. So more plant-based, less gluten. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. People have been complaining more and more how badly they've been feeling. And this probably like 10 years ago, it wasn't that common. There were many things happening, but especially since the pandemic, I've been listening a lot, people feeling strangely different in terms of digestion, things that do not agree with you anymore, and they did in the past. This is Uranus in Taurus and Pluto working around this cleansing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very important.
So cleansing the mind, the body, and the soul.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Purging. So celery juice.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. And then you have to be also flexible and also listen to yourself, because what is good for you might not work with me.
Yeah.
There are certain vegetables that do not agree with me and they are fantastic, but really. So pay attention to what really, because also Taurus is also finding pleasure. I love this concept because I'm a Taurus. So don't forget to find pleasure in your daily life. What really you enjoy eating, people you enjoy being with, like making your senses more acute, what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you touch.
The variety of life. Yeah, the spice of life. Yeah.
Life. This is also what Uranus in Taurus is saying. Recreate yourself, liberate yourself, or whatever does not give you this sense of pleasure. There will be a very nice Venus in Leo this year, and we can talk about this some other time, but it'll be a period of reconnecting ourselves with pleasure, enjoyment, love, sensuality, creativity. This will be a very nice period too that we can talk about another time.
I was going to ask you about that because we're nearly out of time. I know that there's no such thing as time, but we're nearly out of time. Because it's very much a year of self-care, but also real self-love as well. And I love that Venus is going to be in Leo, and perhaps we can dedicate a whole episode with you to talking about that. That would be really wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting time to reconnect ourselves also with our bodies, with our sensuality. Yeah.
Creativity, sensuality, really I can't even think of the word in English at the moment. So no boundaries, but obviously healthy boundaries, but not creating boundaries for ourselves, just being free. As you've said, liberation, freedom, and moving in our bodies and feeling what's wonderful for us. Yeah, I love that.
And going back to touching ourselves more, because in the pandemic we were isolated.
Everybody's like this.
Saturn in Capricorn, right? Very strong, thick boundaries, isolation, loneliness.
Yeah.
Now it is the time to get together
and be tactile and hug
and kiss. Yes. Enjoy the rubbing of skins.
Lovely.
That's what is coming to.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. It's been, I can't tell you, such an honor. I wish you so many blessings for your school, for your trainings, for your teachings. I love you so much. And also your website will be coming out around about the 20th of February, I believe, as well. So I'm going to put all the information about you, how people can get in touch. And I know that will be the perfect time for your website to be launched as well.
Yeah.
And everybody,
yeah.
So you'll be sharing more as well, because obviously, as you said, you're Taurus, so you'll be sharing more as well. And I would love to have more conversations with you, and I'm sure all our listeners would as well.
Thank you, Eileen. I want to thank you for thinking of me for this kind of exchange of very kind of insightful ideas, because I also thank you and honor you for all that you bring into my own kind of work. And it's so nice to see you and do things together. So I'm very thankful too.
I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for listening. And as I said, we will share everything so you can get in touch with the wonderful Patricia. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week. So much love, Ho. And thank you again so much to Patricia.
Thank you, Ho.